I'm Jeremy Geffen, Executive and Artistic Director of Cal Performances, and today I'm thrilled to share highlights of our 2022-23 season, which features more than 70 live events beginning in the fall. Often I'm asked how our season comes together. While it would be nice to say that we start with a grand vision, which is sometimes true, the reality is that artistic programming is much like carving a statue from marble. You have to start somewhere. And with each step, you're making an educated guess based on all the steps that have come before, until finally the full piece reveals itself. Our 2022-23 season has been shaped over years of artistic inspiration. And as any sculptor knows, when you're guided by inspiration, no two pieces can ever be exactly alike. I'm confident that this season, like those before it, will be unlike those before it, and will provide truly original opportunities for us all to be moved by the live performing arts. The 2022-23 will launch with an opening weekend of performances that embody the season's vibrant energy. We'll kick off with Miami City Ballet over the weekend of September 23. So often when we think of world-class ballet, we think of European companies. But Miami City Ballet is one of the key players proving ballet in the US is equally worthy of international renown. The work they're bringing, George Balanchine's Jewels, is just what it sounds like. Glittering, full of splendor, a smorgasbord of tutus, tights, and pointe shoes. Then on that Sunday, Hertz Hall will host one of the most exciting American string quartets of our generation, the Dover Quartet. When these musicians first joined forces, they were students, and now they're the quartet in residence at their alma mater, the Curtis Institute of Music. From the start, their approach has been compelling and visceral, staying true to a red-blooded American sound, yet unlocking infinite layers of nuance. I can think of no better way to start the season. Next season marks our third of Illuminations thematic programming. Illuminations explores the intersection between the performing arts and the groundbreaking scholarship for which UC Berkeley is known throughout the world. By investigating how the arts and scholarship connect, we can more holistically understand the most profound questions of our time. Our 2022-23 Illuminations theme is Human and Machine. Through 6 main stage performances and many other events within the UC Berkeley community, we'll explore how technology has evolved to help us better communicate and express our innermost feelings. We'll also look at the darker side of technology and the potential dangers advanced technologies may pose. In thinking about how human and machine maps onto the performing arts, it's apt to begin with South African artist William Kentridge's Sibyl, which we knew early on was a must-have for our season. For me personally, it brings to life Wagner's concept of Gesamtkunstwerk, the totality of art. The work's communal music making, profound storytelling, and visual allure work cohesively to create something abstract and absurd, yet thought-provoking and emotionally powerful.
The Sibyl was an ancient prophetess. The Cumaean Sibyl, who I'm interested in, lived outside Naples, and there were 2 stories of the Sibyl. My main interest in the Sibyl is the second story of her. And this is that you would go to the Sibyl with the question, how long will I live? Will I die of COVID? What's going to happen in the future? How will the war in Ukraine end? And you would write your question on an oak leaf, and you'd leave it at the mouth of her cave. And she would write the answer on another leaf, and you would go to collect your leaf. But as you approached the mouth of her cave, a wind would always blow up, would always come. And it would blow all the leaves into a swirl, so that you never knew if the leaf you were catching was your leaf or someone else's leaf, if you were catching your fate or someone else's fate. So it's a very strong image of a fate being there but not being able to know it, being caught in that edge as if one could almost know one's future. In the contemporary world, of course, we use our phones, which is to say we use algorithms, we use statistical computations of probable events. But we also have to be aware of the inherent violence of the algorithm, of what it is to take a large body of statistics and to imply the result of that statistical analysis with great violence upon the individual, as if of necessity they are the same as this broader scope of people. The piece was made through a series of improvisations with the actors and the performers who do it. So it's not as if there was a script or a storyboard or roles which we then cast people into. It was a group of people, of dancers, of singers, of composers, and Nhlanhla Mashlangu and Kyle Shepard. And we had a week together working on discovering what was it we were going to find about the Sibyl, both the story, but also how do we represent leaves turning? How do we represent the questions of knowing or not knowing your fate? And all of these elements came into the production. It's fundamentally about the idea that meaning is constructed rather than discovered.
Each Illuminations performance this season provides a different perspective on technology's role in the arts and in our lives. Another major performance in this series is a congregational opera by the great Toshi Reagon and Bernice Johnson Reagon entitled Parable of the Sower. This piece poignantly reflects the complexity of our humanity. The opera is based on Octavia Butler's 1993 dystopian novel and its sequel, which chronicle the destruction of society by corporate greed, climate disaster, and other human failings, and tell the story of those working to rebuild. I'm sure many of you recognize Bernice Johnson Reagon, who has performed with us for many years as a founding member of Sweet Honey in the Rock. It's a pleasure to feature her artistic talents at Cal Performances again, this time with additional creative vision and performance by her daughter, Toshi.
You know, working from the novel Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents by Octavia E. Butler, the theme of technology comes up a lot, and I would say technologies. The book was written in the 20th century, but it took place in the 21st century, and Octavia imagined a lot of the technical advances that we have right now. But she also pulled from the past and imagined that we would return to rural technologies, that people would have to catch their own water, people would have to grow their gardens in the cities. So it's really wonderful and also hard to see the two worlds of rural technology and the advancement of technologies, specifically AI, which keep the relationship to some of the things we despise the most about humans, which is their desire and need to capture and use each other and make sure that people can't get away and be free.
Let your baby go, don't let your baby go to I live. Can you feel me now? Don't let your baby go.
Parable of the Sower, the opera, we have 200 years of Black music in the show, and then we started a base of sacred a cappella singing from where my mother was born and raised, which is Southwest Georgia. Young Lauren Alamina, who is the child that Octavia made see God as change, and telling us the story. And our story, as Lauren starts to have her voice be heard, the music moves closer and closer to our contemporary time. So it starts very old with spirituals, and then by the end of the show, you probably have heard a lot of genres that you're familiar with.
It turned so soon, we thought we escaped, we thought we had room, we thought about the West, we thought about the South.
The beauty of Illuminations is its integration with academic disciplines. To that end, I'd like to share a few words from Dr. Ken Goldberg, Professor of Electrical Engineering and Computer Sciences here at UC Berkeley.
Why do we have machines? Why do we want machines? I would say that machines are helpful to artists in the sense that artists use tools like brushes and cameras and lighting, right, to express themselves. In fact, what I always think about when I see a technology is what can I express with this that I couldn't express before? I found that in engineering I was fascinated, and I still am, by the scientific questions and the engineering nuances of how do you design a new machine and analyze it and get it to work. Also, I see things from an artistic perspective of I have access to these machines, and now I can start to think about how can they be used in an expressive way. One interesting thing is that Berkeley attracts many students that are artists and many students that are great engineers and scientists. Now, the crossover was somewhat limited when I first arrived. There were some, but today there's many.
To close out our spotlight on Illuminations, let's turn to a program performed by the Colin Curry Group and Synergy Vocals that honors musical pioneer Steve Reich. Of course, most musicians tour to honor birthdays in intervals of 5 years, but given how exceptional Reich is, it seemed only appropriate to host a Steve Reich celebration in honor of his 86th. Reich is known across the globe as a groundbreaking composer whose early work with looping and phasing forever changed the landscape of ensemble music. His works achieve a perfect balance of amplified and acoustic instruments, which made this performance a natural choice for human and machine. There will be plenty of other Illuminations events announced on our website at a later date. I'm looking forward to all we'll discover together and how we'll understand our lives differently through this exploration of human and machine. Music is in a constant state of development, and while we embrace artistic evolution, we also recognize that our modern repertoire would look vastly different without canonical works. This coming season will feature many superstars whose own genius reminds us of the timeless power of our classical tradition. We're elated to welcome the Vienna Philharmonic with Maestro Christian Thielemann. It's rare to see this orchestra on the West Coast, so to have them for 3 unique programs feels positively extravagant. The programs they'll perform speak to Thielemann and the orchestra's greatest musical loves. Perhaps most notably, though, their final concert consists solely of Bruckner's monumental 8th Symphony. It's a visceral and transcendent work that, in their hands, is pure magic. We'll also have the pleasure of featuring the unparalleled trio of pianist Emanuel Ax, violinist Leonidas Kavakos, and cellist Yo-Yo Ma. As longtime fans may recall, Ax and Ma have been playing together since they were music students and roommates about 50 years ago. Their great friendship enhances their musical chemistry, and their more recent friendship with Kavakos makes for a dream team. Trust me, any opportunity you have to see them together, take it. Lastly, we look forward to the return of violin virtuoso Maxim Vengerov. His performance will be particularly special in that it's his first time at Cal Performances in more than 15 years. I remember hearing Vengerov play the Brahms Violin Concerto at the Hollywood Bowl when I was a music student. Though it was a work I knew inside and out, hearing him perform it was as if I was hearing the work for the first time. No matter what Vengerov plays, his refined musicianship is transfixing, and his facility with the violin is jaw-dropping. I'm proud to share that Cal Performances will present 3 new co-commissions next season, demonstrating our commitment not only to presenting transformative art, but also to supporting its creation. The first co-commission of the season will be part of the Steve Reich celebration. The piece, which will receive its West Coast premiere here, is a work for voices and ensemble by Reich called Traveler's Prayer. It highlights both physical and spiritual travel reflected in the Old Testament. The second co-commission will be Joyce DiDonato's Eden. When Joyce first came to us about this project, it was a concept without a name. But Joyce brings so many beautiful things into the world that we knew from the start that we wanted to be part of whatever journey we took with her. This immersive event has grown to reflect an artist's ideal concert, led by Joyce's extraordinary creativity. To experience Eden is to be enchanted by the majesty, might, and mystery of the natural world. The last of the 3 co-commissions will be performed by our longtime friends, the Danish String Quartet. The work was written by Icelandic composer Anna Thorvaldsdottir for the quartet's ongoing Doppelganger project. This project brings late works by Schubert into conversation with works commissioned to respond to Schubert's music in the context of today. The Danish quartet has rightfully built up quite the following here at Cal Performances, and it's a pleasure to have commissioned and now to hear firsthand this piece in the 3rd installment of Doppelganger. A hallmark of Cal Performances programming is return visits by some of our most beloved performers. These long-term partnerships are how we as a community build lasting relationships with artists. By journeying with them over time, we have a greater context for all that they do. Our latest partnership with the English Concert will be strengthened in its 2nd year. Harry Bickett and Company have made it their mission to record nearly every note Handel wrote, and through their comprehensive performances are reviving many of Handel's forgotten gems. Next season, the ensemble will return to Cal Performances with the Clarion Choir to perform Solomon. This oratorio's performance features the peerless Anne Hollenberg in the title role, and is one of those sublime works that, though 273 years old, will be new to many ears. Of course, no list of our longtime partners is complete without Mark Morris Dance Group, which has been performing with us for roughly 35 years. Next season's visit will feature the Bay Area premiere of The Look of Love. While Mark Morris fans know the choreographer to be steeped in the classical canon, Morris has eclectic musical interests. In true Mark Morris fashion, this program is one that none would have expected, but all can enjoy, dancing to the music of Burt Bacharach. Also an integral part of our extended Cal Performances family is the beloved Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, who will return during the 2nd half of our season for their annual residency, fondly referred to as Ailey Week. Lastly, I'd like to spotlight the return of early music luminary Jordi Savall with his Les Concerts des Nations. Savall and Les Concerts des Nations just performed to a sold-out audience earlier this season. Each member of the group is a master of their craft, and it's a pleasure to welcome them back anytime. One of the best things Cal Performances can do for the arts and arts lovers is to give opportunities to performers and creators early in their careers. I found that once you provide an opportunity and demonstrate faith, more often than not, your expectations are exceeded. While they're certainly not first-time performers, there are a number of artists scheduled who embody what it means to be a rising star. Next season, Cal Performances will welcome Boy Blue. This UK-based hip-hop dance company took the Mostly Mozart Festival by storm in their first year, and comes to us with the Bay Area premiere of a new work entitled Black, White, Gray. Watching this troupe is watching history in the making, as Boy Blue effortlessly breaks down style barriers and proves, without a doubt, that hip-hop has a space in the fine arts. A young artist who has already made her mark on classical music is soprano Ying Fong. I first saw Ying perform when she was a student at the Juilliard School, and even then she stood out. I recall her silvery voice, her refined elegance on stage, and her completely beguiling musicality. In her short career thus far, she has performed nearly iconic roles, more than holding her own at such venues as the Metropolitan Opera, and has already proven mastery in both recitals and concert work. If you're a fan of pianists, you'll want to keep your eyes and ears on Song Jin Cho, who, despite being relatively young, already has quite the fan base. From my own experience at his concerts, I can say he has particularly been inspiring to young people. further proof that his musicianship knows no bounds. Cho won a gold medal at the 2015 Chopin International Music Competition and has proven in his few short years on the classical scene that he's a force to be reckoned with. We'll also have the pleasure of a debut Cal Performances recital from violinist Alexi Kenny, an insightful young artist who received a Borletti Buitoni Trust Award and an Avery Fisher Career Grant. His program spans centuries and features everyone from Bach to Angelica Negron, a testament to his limitless talent.
I think for me, the word debut comes with it some amount of excitement. There's an element of, being introduced to an audience for the first time that gives you kind of a carte blanche with the way that you program. I think the relationship between a performer and an audience is, the reason behind what I do. And I think if you talk to any artist, there's that kind of sacred bond that you feel in a performance that is completely unique. So I'm from Palo Alto, and I have very seldomly actually played in the Bay Area. So this for me is really exciting. This program that I'm bringing to Cal Performances is definitely one that I connect super strongly with, and I feel is very much my identity at the moment and speaks to myself as an artist right now.
Cal Performances programming is designed to feature performers you love and those you don't yet know you can't live without. Whether or not you recognize all the names on our season, one thing is for certain. When you see these artists perform, you'll know without a doubt they are world class. Thank you for taking this journey with us. I hope this preview has piqued your interest for the spectacular season ahead. I encourage you to review our website and brochure for even more information about the amazing performances we have in store for you next season. Before I sign off, though, I want to dedicate a brief but sincere note of thanks to all Cal Performances staff who've worked tirelessly to mold the season into what it is. In addition, I want to thank you, our audiences. It's your spirit of exploration that draws artists to Cal Performances. Your curiosity gives them the freedom to be fully present and vulnerable, and it gives us the freedom to introduce bold, cutting-edge performances that make our seasons so unique. Thank you for making our community and our program all that it is. See you all back here.